I'm starting to think Dave Chappelle is even cleverer than I always thought, because I think this is a very good ploy by him to get as many people as possible to watch his last special. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying that. I didn't even know who Dave Chappelle was. I didn't know what he does. And this is the first of his specials that I've seen. And now I've gone back and watched all the previous ones. So well done to him on getting the attention that I think his special deserves. But I think you're right, Dan. We are in a position now where, the irony of it is, and you played a very short clip there of him talking about the trans issue, but Dave Chappelle goes after everyone. I'm Jewish, as you know. He makes fun of Jews. In fact, at one point, I think he jokingly compares Jews to the Nazis of all people, and so on and so forth. He makes fun of black people, white people, women, etc., men, of course. And if you sat through that whole thing and you thought, well, this is all very well, and these are just jokes, but then when it gets to your particular issue, then you have a massive meltdown. I think you're not being very consistent there, which is interesting. And of course, Chappelle did say with this that the reason people get upset with his jokes is that they don't listen, and it's good to see them proving them wrong.
Yeah, what is interesting, though, Konstantin, is that the Netflix boss, Ted Sarandos, who has insisted that the show will stay online, has issued this weird sort of apology saying he should have been more sensitive to his staff's concerns. And I think that's such a letdown, isn't it? Because he's trying to keep both sides happy. And actually, what he should say to his staff, I believe, is, no, we creatively believe in this project. We believe in comedians having the right to free speech. And so I'm not going to apologise to you. You don't have to watch the show. And if you don't want to work for us at Netflix, where we pay you lots of money and give you great conditions, then bog off and go and work for some other woke company. I hate this idea that we allow these radical mobs to completely change the narrative. And I think Ted Sarandos let himself down.
Well, I agree with you completely, which probably explains why neither of us is running Netflix. But I think the reality here is, Dan, that, this is the world we live in. I mean, if you pause for a second, and I know the news cycle goes quickly and the stories, and I'm glad to see the Queen is out of hospital, and there's all sorts of things going on in the world. But just pause for a moment and realize where we are. We are in 2021 in a world where hundreds of people will congregate outside a company, employees of that very company. They will congregate and protest in order to get one of their most popular products taken down. That is where we are. They're literally campaigning to have their company's most popular product, or certainly one of them, taken down from what the company offers. It's completely absurd. And you're right, Dan. I think the answer to this is people who are willing to stand by the principle. The co-CEO of Netflix initially came out and indicated that that is what they were doing. And the only thing I would maybe add to in terms of what you said is, I don't want the CEO of Netflix saying, we believe in this creative project. I want him saying, we believe that as a company that offers entertainment to all sorts of people from around the world and across the political spectrum, we believe in having a plurality of voices, comedically, in terms of drama, in terms of programming of every kind. Let's have that, and let's not have you coming in and saying, well, this particular thing doesn't work for us. Dan, there's an old-fashioned solution to all of this. If you don't like something, don't watch it.
Well, of course, and don't pay for Netflix if you don't agree about the programs that they are commissioning. But this isn't the BBC, where we're forced to buy a license fee if we want to watch any linear television. This is a commercial body. If you really are that angry about it, either quit working for Netflix or quit your Netflix subscription. But everything else to me is just ridiculous anti-freedom noises. But look, Konstantin, I want to bring in your old pals on the Superstar panel. You know them all well. It's the author and journalist Rebecca Reed. You're now BFFs, aren't you? And I never thought that would happen.
I know, I'm so sorry.
The Free Speech Nation host Andrew Doyle, who you know well too, and also the political commentator and writer Dominique Samuels. So let's go to your BFF first, because I guess she's probably the most likely to be offended by this.
I forgot, Dan, when your producer contacted me to do the show, I did actually forget that Rebecca Reed would get to ask me a question. So I'm regretting it now. Good to see
Go
you.
hard, Rebecca.
This is
Go
actually
hard.
Konstantin and I have history on this. You can find it on YouTube because we once had to debate whether comedy should have limits, and I shushed him, and it was a news story all over the Daily Mail. I guess
remember.
so. Look, I personally think that Netflix should have said not everything we publish represents how we feel. But we publish a wide variety of content, watch it or don't watch it. But do you think there are some things that people shouldn't joke about, or do you think that everything is fair game?
I personally don't think there are things people shouldn't joke about. It's about the angle of approach. I think you can joke about anything. And in fact, people have made incredible comedy out of some absolutely tragic things, being sexually assaulted, etc. They've joked about that and got the audience to see things in a different way. So I think you can joke about anything. I think it's about the approach that you take to it. And one of the things, Dan, we didn't get into, but I want to add into this conversation, one of the things I find really worrying here is actually Dave Chappelle's attitude to this whole thing was he was coming from a place of compassion. I don't want to give his show away, but the way he wraps up the show is showing us the humanity that we all have in common. And my worry is actually everything that's happening is undermining that, because I think there will be a lot of normally fair-minded people who will look at this reaction and they will be making, in my opinion, a very misguided conclusion that all trans people are like this. All trans people have a meltdown the moment anyone jokes about it. And as someone who's interviewed probably more trans people than any television channel, I can tell you that's absolutely not the case. And I just worry that now that is going to be the impression that people have. And I really, really don't think that's a good idea.
Andrew Doyle, you're all about free speech, so I imagine you feel passionately about this one.
Well, I do, but I'm also worried about this because I think it reveals a number of things. I think it reveals an incredible sense of entitlement. I mean, I can't think 30 years ago, if young employees started protesting against their boss, they would expect anything other than to be shown the door.
Yeah.
And it does remind me of when Jordan Peterson's recent book was announced, and a lot of the young staff at Penguin Random House started crying in the boss's office and demanding that this be stopped. I don't think that publishing house would exist without Jordan Peterson. So, it's a similar kind of situation. But I'm also worried because I think there's a kind of authenticity in the emotion, insofar as I watched one of the viral videos of some of the protesters, and there's a man holding a placard saying he supports Dave Chappelle. One of the protesters is screaming in his face, shouting, "Repent, repent," which is a kind of faux religious approach to this. But I think she means it, and I think the tears are real. How do we deal with this when you can't actually reason with such people? So you can't explain to them why they're being so delusional, because they are delusional. What do you do about that?
Well, I think, Andrew, the answer to this question is you stop indulging them, because the reason this continues to happen is nobody says no. Nobody says stop to these people, and nobody says, I think as Dan articulated earlier, look, you're a free individual, you go work wherever you want, but if you want to work at this company, this is our company policy. Our company policy is that we put on comedy from across a spectrum of views, genres, styles, etc. That is what we do. If you want to participate in making that, great. And if you don't, I'm sure there's plenty of other jobs in whatever industry you want to work in. I think that's got to be the approach. We have to stop bowing the knee to these people.
Dominique Samuels?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with everything that's been said. I was surprised that you didn't know who Dave Chappelle was, though, to be fair, because I've...
But Dominique, you're young and trendy. Konstantin and I are
Dave Chappelle's not young and trendy.
Yeah,
he's like 50.
A classic. But, I mean, this is not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to say that I think people forget that we make jokes about things and we make light of things that are perhaps serious or quite dark to actually help us cope. If you can't laugh at yourself and laugh at serious or sad situations, then you'll probably end up going mad. And I think this is what people don't understand, especially in this day and age where we just encourage self-entitlement and narcissism, is that you should be able to laugh at yourself in order to be able to cope, because nobody shouldn't be able to be joked about, because life needs to be joked about, because life a lot of the time is shit.
If
So
I'm going to wear my
why not make a
woke
joke?
hat, I would say the official party line for my people is that you are allowed to joke about it if it affects you. So I am allowed to joke about things that affect me.
No.
And you are allowed to, but if it affected you, it's not
just
your
silly.
thing.
It's really...
But even if we take that at face value, Rebecca, and you know how much I love you, if we take that at face value, right, then the trans issue does affect quite a lot of people. It affects women, it affects other people, it affects the whole of society nowadays, because we're being asked to reshape quite a lot of the way that we use language, the way we think, the way we talk, where we go to the talk. All of that is being affected. So even by your very woke standard, actually, this is quite an important issue.
Yeah, but this is where we're heading. Only real-life doctors will be able to portray doctors in plays soon. I mean, it's a joke. It's an
That is what
absolute
we all
joke.
dream of, Dan.
But Konstantin Kisin, it's been absolutely brilliant to have you back on the show with Uncancelled tonight. We'll speak to you very soon. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.